Welcome, welcome. Amanda, we both had a few moments when we saw that on the calendar. Like,
The
who are
Amandas.
we? What are we talking about? Um, Amanda and I both are in we met through a new certification course that we're in, but that is not why you're here. You are here because you made a comment, I think, must have been in our group, right? Or was
It
it
was.
yeah,
Mhm.
about receive like finally being correct me if I'm saying the words wrong, finally being diagnosed with PMDD, and what a game changer it was for you once you had that diagnosis and could use the appropriate tools. And my brain was like, this is exactly what we're talking about in my new membership space, where we're talking about the many layers of reproductive health and struggle and misunderstanding and misdiagnosis that happen for us as these uterine bodied people. And so I then said, do you want to come share your story about PMDD with my group, my audience? Because I'm sure there are people who it will resonate with. So that's how we landed here. Do
Mhm.
you want to just quickly introduce who you are or not?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my name's Amanda Grace. I am, from and living here in Ireland, in County
Mhm.
Clare, and like yourself, I'm a life coach.
Yeah.
And yeah, I help. I love helping women. Like I feel very passionately about the state of women's inner lives, and so I help them create inner lives that they don't want to or need to escape from.
I'm writing those words down. Inner lives that they don't want to or have to escape from.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I'm an artist, Amanda, as well. And when people would ask me what kind of artist I am, I would kind of like, playfully, I would tell them I'm an escape artist. And I wasn't joking. So I know all about trying to escape myself. And so, yeah, I just hope women stop trying to escape themselves.
That's beautiful. Um, I think too, and maybe this is too much information because we have never talked before. This is the first where we've actually had a conversation. Your name really sparked something for me because my background work is around abortion and
Mhm.
helping people after abortion. And when I had my abortion, I really identified with this, like that pregnancy, and I actually named her Grace. So when I see Amanda Grace, I'm like,
Mhm.
there's a spark there.
Yes. Yeah.
um, I really feel like Grace came to me so that I could talk about reproductive rights and reproductive justice and help people heal after abortion. So that's a little
Yeah.
side note that when I saw your name, I was like, we need to have a talk.
Absolutely. And
We need to connect.
it's more than a side note, like because what you say there is so true. Like when somebody is pregnant and then is no longer pregnant for whatever reason,
Yeah.
um it's so jarring to the body and mind and soul, and there's so much. It can be a very alienating and disenfranchising feeling to, you know, what would I say, like to lose your pregnancy as such, whether that was a conscious choice or not.
Yeah.
I do believe that it's the same kind of grieving process that happens afterwards, and then physical process, whatever happens to the body. It
Yeah.
was a pregnancy and pregnancy loss that kicked off my all my problems.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so like you're right in that having had the experience ourselves, we can come to realize how very, very alienating and isolating it can be. And
Yeah.
especially if there's any kind of, and of course there is, anywhere there's women, there's fucking shame around our stories. The shame then of ending up with some kind of a hormonal fucking mood disorder. And then
Yeah.
having all of your reproductive history called into account and into question. And like, can I not just, like, can you not scrutinize me, please? Can you just
Yeah.
listen
Yeah.
and help me find my way back from this?
Yeah. Do you mind sharing what you mean when you say that pregnancy loss kicked off the symptoms?
Yeah, so I didn't actually put two and two together for a while, but I was blogging at the time. And so in 2016, and I was 40, and
Mm-hmm.
I got pregnant in the March roughly of that year.
Mm-hmm.
And so I
Wait, did you
like
say 2017?
16.
16. Okay.
Yeah. Why?
My abortion was in March of 2017. And I was like, this story's just getting weirder.
Well, I had a second pregnancy in 2017, but it started in 2016 after
Yeah.
my first pregnancy and first loss. And then I didn't recognize it because there was all of the complexity of the loss and the
Yeah.
confusion and all of that happening. And then, of course, no matter at what point, like, people are like, oh, how far gone are you? So no matter what point or how you have come to not be pregnant anymore, there is just something, like I said, it's so alienating and isolating and shame, like it's like your responsibility, even the word, like the language, all the language around it even is so shaming and blaming towards the mother. So there was so much going on in my life that it was masking, like I had lots of reasons to be fucking moody, in other words.
Yes,
You know
totally.
what I mean?
Totally.
And it was my husband who actually detected the pattern.
Uh, I love this.
Yeah. So he was like, this seems to happen every time, when you're around that time of the month, he'd say, when you get,
Yeah.
this seems to be, are you sure it's not PMS? And I'd be like, it's not, it's real. It's real. It's really happening.
As if
And
PMS wasn't real, it's like, but I know what you mean.
yes, it's
Yeah.
not just PMS, because
Right.
up until that point, in my experience, PMS was cramping, bloating, all the physical symptoms, and then maybe some crankiness or tiredness.
Yeah.
But this was different.
Mm-hmm.
This was an absolute like absorption. Like whoever Amanda was gone. When PMDD showed up, I would be lost to it, and I would lose not connection with reality, but like whatever bit of hope I had of filtering the negative mind in the whole of my health. I lost that ability
Mm-hmm.
in an episode. And then, of course, that started to, and because I was blogging as well, I have kind of record of me mentioning it,
Mm.
calling it all different types of things. Like I would call it like self-attack. And I would call it, I was reading like I don't know if you know the book Women Who Run with the Wolves, but there's a
Yeah.
story in Bluebeard. And I was like, well, it's Bluebeard, it's this, it's that.
Yeah.
I never had I had my own names for the entity. And
Yeah.
it became an entity, Amanda, is what it
Yeah.
became.
Yeah.
It was something we lived with, both of us. And when it came to town, oh, I'm so fortunate that I'm married to somebody who is an very even-tempered, grounded, regulated person.
Mm-hmm.
Because he didn't get triggered by my madness.
Yeah. Yeah. I have so many things to say. First, can you just, for people who are listening and they're still curious, but they don't really know what PMDD is, can you explain what PMDD is to whatever knowledge you have? I know you're not like, well, I don't think you're a medical doctor, but I want to
No.
know for a listener, what is PMDD and how is it different than PMS?
Well, what you might hear people saying is that it's a very severe form of PMS.
Yes, I
But
feel like that's what I've heard.
Yeah, but I don't think that is helpful because it's still, the reference point is still PMS, which is a very common and normal phenomenon that us women are all used to. Premenstrual stress is normal for all the world. This is actually a mood disorder. This isn't a severe form of PMS. It is, I used to call it extreme PMS. So it's probably how we come to the diagnosis is by being like, this is extreme PMS.
Right.
But anyway, so
is it still isn't it? Honestly, I don't even know it's premenstrual
sorry, it's premenstrual dysphoric disorder.
Dysphoric disorder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So dysphoria or dysphoric is mood. Do you know what I mean? So like it's a mental state and it's a profound sense of unease or dissatisfaction. So dysphoria is where there is dysphoria, there's clusters of symptoms that include stress, anxiety, depression, and you'll often find substance use and abuse in that area as well. And interestingly, I ended up in 2017 becoming sober as a result of this. It was so severe that it became life-threatening.
Wow.
When I introduced alcohol.
Wow.
So I haven't drank in 5
That
years.
Because you're like already have this dysphoria and then you're adding another layer of like mental
it's inhibition.
Yeah.
It was the inhibition that was dangerous because I was wild with rage in the PMDD. So when I was offline, for the want of a better word, I was unreachable. Like I was irrational, completely irrational. And so when I would drink, then it got to a point when I would drink that I actually got a fright because I knew that whatever, inhibitions I had left that were keeping me from doing mad things were gone with the alcohol. And I could not promise that I would not hurt myself or somebody else.
Wow.
Permanently.
And this happens cyclically, just like PMS.
Yeah.
From what I have heard, it lasts longer than what you might expect from a more classic PMS. Was that your experience?
Yes. And also my experience was that it was progressive.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. And maybe it was that it was progressive, and maybe it was just that running alongside everything else I was going through, because everything else would have been entrepreneurship, sobriety, healing from an eating disorder, and then the death of my father, and 2 pregnancy losses as well. So, there was a lot of grieving and a lot of major life events happening at the same time, and turning 40. And
I was gonna say, and your age with
yes.
Yeah.
And then making the decision to not become a mother. So there was a lot of really intense stuff going on. So whether the progression was something that I would have experienced, but you see, nothing happens in a vacuum anyway. So life is stressful for all of us. So I don't know. But and especially if this mood disorder is arising from some sort of a reproductive thing, the chances are that we're going through something very stressful as women. There's something happening in our lives that is, so the stress of that compounded by my mood disorder. So whatever was happening in my brain, this inability to regulate, any bit of stress then became extra hard to deal with. And there seemed to be a cumulative effect. Eventually leading to burnout, and also just like, I can't go another round of this.
Yeah. I too am very fortunate to have a husband who pays attention. Just yesterday, I said to him, I got my period, like as if I was confused. And he was like, yeah, obviously. But he didn't say it rudely or anything. He just was like, still confused that I don't know when I'm gonna get, like, he knows when I'm ovulating. He knows when I'm gonna get, like, he pays much more attention than I do. That's not, I just don't have a strong calling to like keep track. And so it does surprise me. But I too am very fortunate to have a husband who is very supportive, very in tune, and very level-headed. And I'm so glad that you had that. Because I can't imagine going through everything you were going through, adding this intense hormonal dysregulation and not having support. And I'm sure there are many people out there who have that exact formula.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So thank you to him. That's my nod to our husbands.
Yes. I never met his mother either. And I often say, thank you, Maggie. Yeah.
Are you open to sharing some of the things you tried, or like how you tried to manage it? Like, what was the journey of like something's not right to an eventual diagnosis and feeling like you were on could I'm going to use these words, but they're not maybe the right ones, like on the other side of it, where you had a
Yes.
diagnosis and you had a plan that worked.
Yes. Okay. All right. So the one thing that I'll just say is like never underestimate the power of denial. You know, so like how many years I tried to fucking deal with this on my own. You know, and I took responsibility, like as in toxic responsibility for it, because it was moved. It kind of tapped into a narrative in my life about being moody. Do you know that kind of a way? So it was quite damaging to my self-esteem, or else it revealed to me the ways in which my self-esteem was hampered by this identifying as a moody kid.
Yeah.
You know, and never really having shaken off that identity as being moody and sensitive and all of that. So there was that. So the first year I wasn't really aware of it, you know, because how it first started was, like I said, it was hard to see the wood from the trees. Like, what is it? Am I hungover? Because the first year I was self-medicating with alcohol. Now, I was always a mad drinker, you know, I was always an over drinker or whatever you, I'm like a culture. I live in a culture where getting blottoed is normal.
Yeah.
So I was always that kind of like, I always drank to get drunk. And so hangovers have been a feature of my life all my life. So at first it looked like, you know, was it hangovers, whatever. And then I would experiment with that and I tried to be walking. And I always kind of, it was always like I blamed myself. It was something that I did that caused this. So for the first year, I tried to rein myself in, you know, like, and then I would try to diet to make myself feel better. And so there was drinking, smoking, dieting, binging, a lot of stuff going on at the time. And as it became more clear, as I stopped drinking then, and that complication was taken out of the equation, but then the added complication of entrepreneurship was brought in at the very same time. But anyway, I'd say in the second year is when the pattern started to become obvious. And that's when I went to a doctor. I was living in the north of Ireland at the time. And I remember bringing myself to a doctor who, because I was just transient in that town, I would have had no relationship with. And I kind of got a bit of, they were male doctors, and I got a bit of, yeah, well, okay, you know, well, what can, you know, it was almost like, oh, please, you know, it's take a fucking Tylenol and you'll be fine kind of thing, you know? And like that, I was, because I had so much shame around my own identity as a moody person, and shame about my pregnancy losses, and shame as well that, because it looked to, for all the world to me, it felt very much to me like I just was failing to cope with life. I was failing to, and I was also failing to endure these monthly things. Like it was like as if there was some it was some indication of my weakness as a
Yeah.
my weakness of character, that
Yeah.
I would get knocked down every month by this.
Yeah.
So I tried to take it on the chin for a very long time.
If I were just stronger, if I just did the right things, if I took
If I
better care
wasn't
of
me,
myself, if I
yeah,
wasn't me. Yeah.
if I wasn't me, this wouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
And then, of course, because there was so much chaos going on in my nervous system that I knew nothing about. So I knew nothing about nervous system work at this point. And like I said, I had body image issues going on too. So there was a lot of complicating factors. And like this was the perfect storm. So I had a lot of reasons to be arguing with myself. My relationship with me wasn't in a great state.
Yeah.
So this particular crisis capitalized on that.
Yeah.
And I was just at war with myself in a way I'd never been before. But anyway,
Yeah.
So then after that, in the third year, I started, so I started like a lot of walking, and then I took up sea swimming. And then it was, the sobriety was happening, and then it was fucking boatloads of ashwagandha and some other Ayurvedic potion.
Yeah.
I was off coffee. I was on coffee. I spent a fortune on supplements, HTP5, all of the, niacin, everything. I tried all the things. Therapy. I leaned on therapists. I had a therapist, I had a coach, and I had a spiritual advisor at one point, all holding me up.
Yeah. Wow.
And I was making progress. And of course, then I was trying to attack it through diet as well, because everywhere you go, someone has an opinion.
Yeah.
On what's causing it. So, and that fed into my diet shame, my body and food shame as well, because I was like, oh, it's my fault because I'm a fucking sugar eating asshole.
Right.
Oh, and I was kind of like, then I was told the keto was the answer to all my fucking problems. And so I ate like that for a while and got some temporary false happiness because I was losing weight, and that was tapping into my diet mentality. And then when I gained the weight back, there'd be a fallout. And so it was really just a very clumsy, messy, stumbling through rage and not knowing and falling out with people, losing friends, and really damaging to my self-esteem and my character, because it felt like I wasn't able to have any consistency in my character. The arse could fall out from under me any fucking moment. And that was terrifying. And I didn't trust myself around people, and I didn't want to be around people, But yeah, but then in like 2019, I started with, because I started with life coaching in 2018 or 2017. It was around this time. It all started happening at the same time. Then I trained as a coach. Now, I was already trained as a psychotherapist.
Okay.
So I had lots of tools.
And
none of them were working, as in like, I'll get to that in a minute. It's not that the tools don't work. It's that I was too dysregulated for them to work. They couldn't work. So in 2019, I started exploring the idea of embodiment, and I hired a one-to-one yoga teacher. I was like, tell me what the fuck people are talking about when they say get in your body. And we started to do that work, and it was just a long, long, painful road of body work, mind work, soul work, dream work, going to my therapist, going to my coach, like leaning on everybody and letting these people who I had chosen as my support circle, literally just letting them fucking see me at my worst.
Yeah.
And I worked all my way through it. So it was a really heroic effort of surviving something that I didn't fully understand.
For real.
Yeah. And then I wasn't getting any help medically. And to make a long story short, in 2021, because as you know, my father died in 2019. So that was the year I was getting embodied. And I was doing all the keto shit then. And of course, when my dad died, it was fucking donuts all the way. And that brought on like that kind of kicked off an argument within myself as well. So that, but anyway, in 2021, it all came to a climax in that between work and everything else, burnt out. I was really, really burnt out, grief, everything that had come. And at this point, the progression of this mood disorder, I had gone from, maybe in the beginning, it would have been 5 or 7 days out of the month that I would be offline and gone.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, I only had about 5 to 7 good days a month.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it was really,
So
and
it was both a progression of quantity of time in this state and then also the intensity of the state, it sounds like, too, got progressively. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, to the point where there was one day I howled. Like I actually howled like a wild animal here in the days.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was like as if something would just snap.
Mm-hmm.
And I would scream and howl like an animal
Mm-hmm.
in distress, pure distress.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2021, I just reached bottom. I really did. And I started to, there was one day when I just kind of snapped and I lit a cigarette. I grabbed a bottle of wine and I lit a cigarette, and I hadn't smoked since 2017. I hadn't drank. And I was sitting outside with the cigarette, smoking the cigarette, and had the bottle of wine on the ground. And I had no intention of drinking it.
Mm.
Like, and as in, it's not that I had no intention of drinking it. I didn't want to drink it.
Mm.
But there was a part in me taking over that was like, I will do anything
To feel
to not feel it, to numb it. Like in fact, at this point, I think I want to kill it.
Yeah.
And then I got scared because I live in a lakeside town, and I had a vision, and this was why I gave up alcohol in the first place, because when I gave up alcohol, I was living in the forest and I did not feel safe.
Mm.
I was afraid that if I drank on top of this distress, I would walk into the forest and not walk out again.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And the exact same thing happened here in March of 2021. I became scared that I was going to like scull a bottle of vodka and go down to the lake.
Mm-hmm.
I was so distressed. So I went to my doctor then, who had been kind of, I had felt quite gaslit, and she'd be like, just eat more organic foods and drink more water and ashwagandha and take fucking reishi mushrooms and niacin. And I was like, just fuck off. I've done it all now. At this stage, there's nothing I haven't tried. I was doing Wim Hof, ice, bleeding ice swimming. There was nothing. I was very content that there was nothing I hadn't tried. So when I said to her, I said, I think we're going to have to, or I didn't say, I said, I want to try medication. It's the last thing.
Yeah.
I don't know why, Amanda, there must be stigma, because it was the very, very.
I was going to ask, had you considered it before and said, no, just more reishi?
I wrote it off.
No, I'll do the ice baths.
I wrote it off for several reasons. One of the reasons being I had a bad experience with antidepressants before.
Oh, okay.
Right.
That makes sense.
No, that's me telling, that would have been me, like 20-something-year-old me. I have had a bad experience with antidepressants. 40-something-year-old me will tell you that it wasn't a bad experience with antidepressants. It was alcohol.
Right. But your brain, that was what it was in your brain connection it was weird. Yeah.
I blamed them because it wasn't the drinking.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the drinking isn't the reason I ended up being arrested. No, it was definitely the fucking prescription.
Gotcha. So you had this association to antidepressants that
yes,
you didn't want to go back to that.
I was afraid, to be quite frank and honest, I was afraid also of losing my orgasm.
Interesting, of course. Yeah.
That was a big deal to me.
I think that's a big deal. Yeah.
So I was afraid of that. And I was also a bit too shy to bring it up to my doctor.
Uh-huh.
Because it felt really weird being like, I'm fucking suicidal, but I don't want a solution if I can't have an orgasm. Like it felt like such a fucking unreasonable request.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, like, look at how snookered a woman is. It's like, am I going to sacrifice that one bit of fucking, because in my head,
Just
I was like,
one piece of pleasure in my life.
I was like, I've given up alcohol, I've given up cigarettes. Like if I have to give up wanking, I'll fucking die. Like it's what's left. Sorry, I'm being very crude, but
Totally fair. Totally fair.
the reason I'm being crude is it's helping me to get it out. And I do want to speak about it because I do think that it's a part of this whole equation that's really important.
Yeah.
Like where reproductive rights and women's pleasure, like they're all for our suffering, but who's for our pleasure,
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was a trade-off I was really worried about. And until it got to a point where I was scared I was going to fucking jump in the lake, I said, I'll have to take my chances. So I said it to my doctor, and I kind of gave her the ultimatum because she was very reluctant to prescribe. And I said to her, well, look, I said, I'm reluctant to take them, but at this point, it would be reckless not to. So she prescribed me, and it was another 3 weeks before I did it because I was only coming out of I came out of a cycle then, that kind of a way. And when everything is restored, it's not that you forget, but it's like as if I'm never going to fall for that again.
Yeah.
It's Jekyll and Hyde. So I put the tablets in my vanity cabinet, and I was like, if it happens again.
Okay.
And it did.
Just the following month, or
the following, 3 weeks later. And I actually ran. I was in this room and I was trying to tolerate it. I was trying to cope, and I was trying to white knuckle it. And I just said, fuck it. And I actually ran from this room to my vanity cabinet, and very like dramatically, like in a movie, I just fucking shoved the tablet down my neck. And within 2 weeks, I was a different person.
What made you keep taking it, even though it took 2 weeks to transform? How quickly did you feel any relief?
I felt, do you know the coming up feeling? I don't know if you know that. Like when you first start taking the medication, you could feel your all this, like your jaw, you're yawning, and so I could feel pretty much straight away, because I am quite sensitive. Straight away, I could feel the medicine. Do you know what I mean?
What I heard was you could feel your body saying yes.
Oh,
I don't know.
I don't know now, but I could feel the medicine. I could feel that. I knew that now there's pharma in me. I knew that.
Okay.
But within a week, there was relief.
Okay.
Within 2.
Oh no, you froze a little. Ah. I'm just gonna cut my video for a second, see if you come back. I wonder if it's my internet connection. Did we lose you? If you're still watching at this point, this particular conversation is really making me want to turn these YouTube chats into a podcast, because this is a very powerful story. These are the things we are not hearing. And to have access to this story, and more examples of the pieces of our puzzle, is how we break stigma. It's how we heal. It's how we grow together, and it's how we thrive. So I hope that Amanda comes back. I know for me, it's helping me, hearing her story is helping me process some of the judgments I've had in my past, some being learned, some being fear-based. It's helping me look at stories of people I know who've been through hard things without finding what works. And again, I do hope Amanda pops back in here because I would love to finish this conversation. But if you have been struggling with mood intensity, with just seeing if she sent me a message, if you've been struggling with any kind of mood intensity, mood swings, oh, she did say be right back, so hopefully that's soon. It's worth asking. Ask somebody else. Tell the practitioners you've been working with, I don't want to do it this way anymore. I want something else. Please let me try. I will say that with my teenage daughter, we spent about 5 years exploring different ways to manage her mental health. And eventually medication was also the thing that worked for her too. But here's Amanda. Just let her back in.
No.
I just kept rambling while you were gone about my thoughts so far. And so here you are. I'm so glad you're back.
I'm back. Yes. So I have to tell everybody about the update about the orgasm piece, because I need women to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I convinced my doctor. I took them within 2.
Yeah. Oh no, you're freezing a little. No.
Feeling so full.
We're at the edge of our seats.
Yeah. Oh yes. Sometimes I catch myself just feeling so smooth, just so nicely, perfectly medicated, you know. But anyway, it did happen where my you know, like I wasn't able to climax on the medication, and I was fucking gutted.
Your worst nightmare.
Yeah, I was really gutted. I was like, this is no life. So I fucking ranted in a not ranted, but I put in a flare up in a menopause group. I was like, fuck, you know, I don't like the trade-off. And then one of the women, it's the power of women talking to women.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the women said to me, are you taking generic or brand?
No way.
Yeah, I said generic. She said, go back. She said, take the brand and it'll resolve itself. She said, the same thing happened to me. And within a week, I was fucking all hunky-dory again, you know?
Stop it.
So I changed to, but when I went to the chemist for my first prescription, I was prescribed the brand. But in the chemist, they said, would you not just go with the generic? Sure, everybody buys the generic. They're half the price.
Yeah.
And I said, and I did the same medication. She said the exact same.
Yeah.
No difference. So I went with the generic because she told me it was half the price. Now over here, we're very lucky that brand Lexapro is like 30 quid. And the generic version is like a tenner.
Okay.
So
don't know what any of that means, but I believe you there's a difference.
Okay, yeah. So it's $30 for the brand for Lexapro.
Yeah.
But the generic version of Lexapro is like $10.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's 3 times the price.
Yeah.
But it's still very low.
Yeah.
So the point about that is, so I went back to the chemist. I said, fucking take them back and give me the brand. So I got the brand Lexapro, and just like she said, within a week, I was good again. So
that's amazing. Wow.
So then I felt like, oh, wow, what? I felt stupid then for holding off for so long.
Yeah. How many people have not heard that little tip? Yes, the power of women, the power of talking. That's sort of what when you disappeared, I just kept talking. And I was like, I hope Amanda comes back because this conversation is so powerful. We need to be having more conversations like this. We need to hear all the little pieces of people's stories, because when we hear all the pieces of everyone's stories, we start puzzling together our own.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So do you mind sharing how long now you've been managing, I don't know if that's the right word, with Lexapro and regulating with Lexapro and how that's been?
Yes. So it's coming up on 2 years now that I've been on Lexapro. I'm very, very pleased with how it's
Amazing.
going. I have no side effects.
Oh,
I feel very smooth and even tempered. I
oh,
even feel like good tempered, like I'm in a good mood. It's not just that I'm not in a bad mood.
yeah.
Um, I feel very, when I say regulated, because the bottom has been, so what was happening was it was too easy for me to fall beneath that fucking line.
Yeah.
So now I tend to, like, the bottom, I feel like I have a good solid ground under me and the arse is not going to fall out of it. And I'm finally, only in the last 2 years, really getting to experience the power of coaching. Because
Because you can
I,
receive the tools and use the tools in a completely different way.
yes,
Yeah.
thank God, because I thought that this was all just horse shit. And
Yeah.
then
Mm-hmm.
once the actual horse shit was cleared away, I was like, holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
so grateful and I never would have thought that. And I think I would have, what's so interesting about going through your own experiences is the humility that comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because before I got pregnant, like, I had never tried to get pregnant and I had always just assumed I would just have to fucking want it and I would get pregnant. And then it was like 18 months. And I was like, what the fuck? I was almost offended. I was like, because I wasn't pregnant straight away. And then when I lost the pregnancy, I had a lot of shame, because apparently I had a lot of judgment about miscarriage.
Right. You didn't know you had it until.
Did not know until I felt stigma.
Mhm.
And then I was like, oh, I guess I had some fucking ideas about the kinds of women who miscarry. I was actually shocked and horrified at what came up for me
Yeah.
in relation to my own prejudices,
Yeah.
which made me quite unsympathetic towards my loss.
I also, when you disappeared, one of the things I also said is like this whole conversation, and I'm a person who's been talking about women's health for decades,
Yeah.
but just this conversation is opening new pathways of like of places that I've seen myself judge or learned to judge, or and opened up new sympathy and new connection, and that's the power of these conversations.
And I feel like the bright side of this horrible, like horrendous last few years that I've been through as a result of all this has done me the favor of knocking the arrogance out of me.
Yeah.
The arrogance of believing that none of this would ever happen to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the arrogance of
Or if it
my,
does, I'll do this and I'll fix it, or I'll do that and I'll fix it. Right? Like there's even that arrogance. Like even if it does happen to me, I'll know what to do.
yeah,
I've had
yeah,
that phase too.
fall
Yeah.
apart.
Yeah.
And I had to deal with the humiliation of falling apart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
and learning that there was nothing to be ashamed of and that it's okay to fall apart.
Who are you now that you've fallen apart and come back together in this way?
I often say I'm fucking Humpty Dumpty over here. But who am I now? I am, it's almost like I am the human version of whatever Pinocchio went through.
Hmm.
It's like I'm a real boy now. That's who I feel now, is that I feel regulated and cared for enough and supported enough and resourced enough and resilient enough
Yeah.
to be in this world an example, a model, a resource for other women, and to be, the kind of woman who stands up and been like, I don't want to take an antidepressant in case I lose my orgasm. Like, I want to be that person in the world
Yeah. Yeah.
who says the thing
Yeah.
that everybody's thinking but hasn't the nerve to say. I will be her. I don't mind. I'm not very easily embarrassed.
I think that's partly why I went through the abortion. I think I am that person who will speak for the people. But I can't speak for the people until I understand the thing. And so I had to go through the thing to be able to be a voice for the people. And I mean, yeah, I have fear getting up and talking about abortion all the time, but I will do it because it's important. And I
Very.
think I never would have done that if I hadn't gone through it myself.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it's sad to say that, you know, because none of us want to ever imagine ourselves as being without empathy or judgmental or having, but if we have that internalized stigma, that's not our fault either. So it's a real mindfuck, because it's almost like you go through the thing and then you're also so you're like, you go through the event and then you also are confronted with your all the surprise prejudices that you had about the thing, and now you are
Yeah.
that which you used to point your finger at,
Yeah. Yeah.
alienate, and you're like, oh well, now I feel like a right fucking asshole.
Yeah, you used the word earlier a few times, the complexity, it's just like it's just so many layers that we're moving through.
So many layers, and and perspectives and all of that. And like one of the things about pregnancy loss, and like I said, I really am I struggle to say miscarriage, but pregnancy loss covers it all, because even if your choice um is to terminate a pregnancy, you still are losing, even if it's your choice. So just like my first marriage, I chose to leave it. Doesn't mean that I wasn't entitled to grieve it.
Yeah, exactly. I use that example a lot. It makes so
It's
much
really,
sense for people.
yeah, it's really important to know that there are so many fucking sides to it, and the very fact that there is a decision being made should be honored and supported, and a person should be supported the fact that they're making a fucking decision.
Yeah.
But yeah, this what was I going to say about the loss? Oh yeah, one of the things that I had to deal with, and you see, like, so if you said to somebody, I'm just recovering from pregnancy loss, they might be like, oh, blah, blah. And you might say, yeah, I had an abortion last year. And they'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? So now all of a sudden your loss is different
Yeah.
because
Because you
of,
chose it.
yeah, who pulls the fucking trigger, like, because miscarriages are also called spontaneous abortions,
Right, right. Yeah.
or whatever. Mine was called a silent.
But it's the same example as divorce, right? Because it's like, oh, your marriage ended. I'm so sorry. And then you're like, I'm the one that left. And they're like, oh,
Yeah.
now what do I do with that?
Yeah, or they assume that it's acrimonious, or that you're, the amount of assumptions made about
Mhm.
the what part of it is the actual crisis and what part of it is the actual solution.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And with my losses, well, the first one, I suppose I was very innocent and I had told people, and there was a lot of people who fucking, but anyway, what I got a lot of was, oh, how far gone were you? And I knew
As
that
if
that was,
that matters,
well,
because
what
yeah,
they were doing in their Filofax mind. They were like, I just need to find out how much sympathy you deserve.
yes, exactly.
And I remember telling one man, of course, and I shouldn't have, because I just felt like a deer in the headlights. He asked me,
Yeah,
which I've done.
yeah.
He asked me and I answered, and he went, not so bad.
Right. Well, now
And I
I
was like,
can tell you how you feel about it.
yeah, it's like, you're right. You know what? You're right. What a fucking ninny I am for crying over something, something that fucking.
Yeah. Oh, I hate to do this, but I have a call in
Right.
2 minutes, and this has just been so amazing.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you. I really appreciate this story. Is there any last thing that you haven't said that you want someone who thinks they may be struggling with PMDD to know?
Yeah. What I would like you to know is that it's real, and that it's, you're allowed, it's allowed to be bigger than you.
Mm,
And You know, you're allowed to be powerless against it, to the degree that, you know, just like what they say in alcoholics, like there's no point in trying to white knuckle something that needs a more, you know, a different intervention. Just don't white knuckle it. It's not worth it.
Yeah. Thank you.
And if you can, hopefully shop the generic, like measure. You don't have
You
to
know,
sacrifice.
though, I bet there are some people or some
Yeah.
medications where the generic has benefits that the non-generic does not. So it's like the takeaway is don't just give up, try a different brand.
Yeah,
Try a
and get
different
into
brand.
talk to other women, talk to other people that are going through shit, and they might be like, who do I talk to? Well, what you do is talk, be the talker then.
Yeah. You will
And it
learn
will,
who to talk to when you are the talker. Yeah.
yeah, it'll draw people to you, like you.
Okay, where can people find you lastly if they want to learn more
Mostly
from
on
you?
Instagram. So there's no point in looking for me anywhere else except for on Instagram. So on Instagram, I am amandagrace.ie.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Mwah.
Thank you, Santa.
Bye-bye.
Bye.